Ever met someone who's got all the answers and zero clue? Well, if you haven't, maybe you're that person. We'll wait. The truth is, knowledge is everywhere, but wisdom, that's still rare. Let's talk about the beautiful, bumpy, God-shaped journey from smarts to sense.
Got it.
It's
Man, isn't that so true?
It is. It's neither knowledgeable or wisdom-like for me to even attempt to dance.
I'm not sure it's either, Bill.
It's just a poor choice overall.
I think it's just a poor choice overall. You know, I mean, we I think it's just a poor choice overall, Bill. It is so true, right? Like, you could read all the books, you could go to all the classes, you could memorize like all the proverbs, you can quote uh, sermon after sermon and all of that kind of stuff, but none of that means really anything if you don't apply what you've learned.
Exactly.
Right? That's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is like,
That's what we're talking about.
is feeling like I can have all the knowledge in the world, but if I don't do anything with it, it's just kind of useless knowledge, and I'm not being very wise.
Right. So absolutely, God calls us to speak truth, to grow in understanding, to love Him with all of our minds. But knowledge isn't transformational. Wisdom is what happens when truth walks through fire. Did that make any sense at all? I've said it.
Well, I think it does, right? It's because, like, you know, sometimes we have to learn through our mistakes. We have to learn through our trials. We have to learn through all the things that are hard. And it's hard because we've never done it before. But the only reason that we're trying is because we've learned something. We have some knowledge about something, because we can't do something that we don't know about. So we read a book. We read something in the Bible. We go to church on Sunday and we hear the pastor say something that's like, that's really good information. But then when I go to try to apply it, it's hard. I make mistakes. I stumble. It's awkward. It's whatever it is. But by doing it is where I start to learn what the application is. And I think that's what we're talking about, right? It's like this difference between just knowing something and then doing something with it.
Right. It's like the person that knows everything about Michael Jordan. He's done this. He's done this. He's won 6 championships. He's done all of these things. He's won MVP. He's won in so many things. He's averaged over.
They know every stat.
Every stat. The color of his uniform. You know, on the 5th game of his 4th year in the league or whatever. You know, so they know everything. But then you say, you know everything about Michael Jordan. Have you ever met him?
Nope.
You ever shaken his hand?
Nope.
That's it, and that's the difference between I know all of this stuff, but do you know him?
Yeah.
And that could even translate over into I know all of these Bible facts, all of these Bible things, all of these all of the Sermon on the Mount. I've memorized. I know all these things. I know so much about the Bible. But do you know Jesus? Do you really know him?
Yeah. So it's like you acquire knowledge. So, you know, it's an acquisition thing. I go out and I obtain stuff. But then if I'm just sitting holding on to it, it's no use to me. Wisdom has to be applied, right? And you can study everything. Like, here's a good example. Like, I can dig into the Bible. I can dig into everything I know about patience, being patient. And then all of a sudden I'm driving down the road and somebody cuts me off, and what do? I just snap, and next thing I know, I'm letting them know they're number one, and I'm tailgating them and honking the horn or whatever. Like, so I might know everything there is to know about patience, but I didn't apply it at all.
Yeah, and application is the point. Do you remember your math teacher? I remember my math teacher in high school saying, "You got to learn this stuff because you're never in your entire life going to have it. You're never going to be walking around with a calculator in your hip pocket."
Wrong.
I got the Encyclopedia Britannica in my hip pocket. I've got
Well,
I've got the New York Times in my hip pocket. And now with AI, I don't even have to read it. I can just ask. I mean, knowledge is just in your face. And a lot of people think they're really, really smart because they have a ton of knowledge. But wisdom is where wisdom grows in tension. Like you mentioned about, you get out in the real world and you stumble and you fall, even though you know a lot. You stumble and you fall, and you screw up and you waste money and all this kind of stuff. And all of those little things, all of those little failures build into wisdom later on. Wisdom is forged in choices, not comfort. It's real easy for me to sit back and say, I know absolutely everything. I've got it right in my hip pocket here. But man, I mean, getting out in the real world and failing, you're slowly building true wisdom.
it is, and I think I think that in this day and age we have this problem of like we certainly don't lack for the ability to gain knowledge with AI and with the internet and with all the we're just bombarded with information um, on a level that's probably never been before, right? So
Right.
and I think that what happens is we have people who walk around knowing lots and they believe that that's enough. They believe that that is wisdom, like just knowing stuff is wisdom. And so then we just have a lot of people walking around with tons of knowledge, being everybody's now the smartest person in the room, but nobody's doing anything. I remember, I don't even, I mean, it's way like another lifetime ago. I had a boss that said, if you ever want to know who the smartest person in the room, look around and see who's being quiet.
Okay.
And they were the person who was just absorbing and taking in everything that everybody was saying. They weren't trying to prove they were they were the smartest.
Yeah. People like to
You know?
flex. They like to flex their knowledge.
Yeah.
I know more than you, so I'm a little better than you. That's a person with a poor self image complex, basically. They're trying to flex. They're trying to step themselves up and trying to look good in front of the boss, as it were. But
Mhm.
it's the quiet one. You're right. It's the quiet one that is soaking in everybody else's knowledge and has the wisdom to shut up. I wish there were some people today that had the wisdom to. Well, okay, wisdom to shut
Yeah,
up.
that's a completely different podcast. So, so as we're kind of going down this path, and like, so how do you gain wisdom? And I know there's a lot of scripture about it, but if you go to like Proverbs 9:10, it says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
And then it goes on from there and it says, and knowledge of the Holy One is
Mhm.
understanding.
So what
So
is that? What does that mean?
I think when it comes to
Like
wisdom,
if I want to turn my knowledge into wisdom, and it tells me that I need to have the fear of the Lord. What does that mean for me like on a day-to-day basis?
realizing and this is just my thought on the matter is that everything, the wisdom, everything begins with knowing God and knowing God intimately enough to fear Him in the right sense.
Yeah. And when we say when you see things and you hear people who are either new to the faith or they're non-believers and they hear fears like why should I be scared of him? Right? Like
Right?
we're not talking about being scared. Fear is this reverence, this respect, right?
This awe.
The awe, right? The awesomeness of it.
Right.
Like you go to the Grand Canyon and you look down in it and you're like, there's this sense of awe, and there's almost this, I'm not afraid of it, but there is this, I have to have a level of respect because if I am not respectful of it, it I'll fall in, right? I can get hurt by it.
Yeah, and there's the fear and the awe, the beauty on the north. I want to say on the north face of the Grand Canyon. Our family was there many years ago, about 20 years ago, And we sat on the one of the rituals is to sit on the edge of the Grand Canyon. Like there's no guardrail. You sit on the edge. Now I didn't dangle my feet over the edge of the cliff. We sat back a bit because I have a fear of heights, and so I was in the wrong spot. But you watch the sun go down, and it was a little bit cloudy, but you could see the sun. The sun came down and came out of the clouds, and then we looked across the Grand Canyon, and it set, and nobody said anything. And there's like, dozens of people sitting there, and it just sets and it just goes down. You can see the awe and the splendor of the Grand Canyon with the sun setting and the light. And then it's just as soon as it disappears, everybody claps, and then they just go back to their campsite or whatever the case may be. And that's the awe and the fear. God is in control. God knows what he's doing. God has given us the splendor of his glory. He's done all of that. But don't step over the edge.
Right. Don't step over the edge. I like that. Well, so if that's where wisdom begins, then that means if we want to be wise and turn all of this knowledge that we have into wisdom, then it has to start with having that utter respect. But we can't have that respect or that fear of God if we don't know him, which
if we don't know him,
kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, right? It's like I can know everything there is to know about God, at least what he's allowed us to know, right? I can know everything. I can read the Bible. I can go to the experts and the scholars and ask questions and study, and I can know everything. So I can know God. I can know about God, but do I know him?
Right.
Which means I have to be in a relationship with him to actually know him. Same way you were talking about Michael Jordan, right? It's like, I know everything there is to know about Michael Jordan, but do I really know him? No. Same way with God. Same way with Jesus, right? It's like, so the only way that I'm going to start to have wisdom and make good choices is I have to have a relationship.
Yeah. And it's a little cliche, but it really is all about the relationship. It really is.
Isn't like that kind of like everything?
Really, when you get right down to it.
I mean, everything is about the relationship. So what do we want our listeners to do?
Well, let me just drop this one last little thing in here with regard to wisdom. Wisdom isn't about always being right. That's a person who's soaked in knowledge. Wisdom isn't about always being right. It's about being rooted. And sometimes the wisest thing we can do is admit that we don't know and trust the one who does. Maybe that's where maybe that's where we kind of just drop it, knowing and trusting the one who knows it all the right way, true wisdom. So where in your life are you learning or leaning on knowledge instead of wisdom?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to wrap up. Is like if I know there's areas that I'm struggling with. I know a lot of stuff, but I'm not doing a lot of stuff with this in this area of my life. Then I think it goes back to, do I have a relationship? And because he can talk me through it, he can walk me through it, he can get me through it, and he can help me make the right decisions.
Yep. And that right there is a good step in the direction of wisdom. And you don't want to shed the knowledge, but you want to learn to take the knowledge and turn it into wisdom. And the only way to do that is with the knowledge of God.
I like it.
Great.
That's Bill.
That's Jamie.